Welcome then to Aragon in the northeast region of Spain, to the MotorLand Aragón circuit, the place hosts the MotoGP World Championship and World Superbikes, and today the FIM CEV Repsol. As you can see, the weather here is absolutely gorgeous. There are clouds in the sky, but the temperature's approaching 40 degrees already, and this is an incredible circuit. Built back in 2009, 7 left-hand corners, 10 right, 2 long straights really. The back straight over a kilometre, or just a kilometre long exactly, and the circuit is 5.077 kilometres in total. And don't forget, turns 8 and 9, it has its very own corkscrew here, which is an incredible drop, and we are now gearing up for the Moto2 European Championship race.
Yeah, and certainly the temperatures are continuing to rise. They're already starting to creep into the mid to high 30s, and you know, we've been predicted that they could get over 40 degrees, which is absolutely scorching. And you know, with Aragon being in the middle of a pretty arid place, there's not really much protection. There's certainly no shade about, so it'll definitely be a boiler for those on the Moto2 bikes. You know, not only do you have to compete with the sun beating down on you, but you have all that heat radiating up from the engine. So there's really no break. And
I think we might see tyre wear play a much bigger role in this race, as you say. Moto2 and Superbike are much harsher on their tyres than the Moto3 bikes, obviously.
Yeah, a lot more power. Also in Moto2 you have a lot more sliding, which there's a lot of debate over whether sliding preserves the tyres. Old 500 riders like Gary McCoy thought that the sliding did actually help his tyres, but it seems more recently that sliding in, especially Moto2, has been a bit of a tyre destroyer. Certainly with Scott Redding when he was in Moto2, that was one of the things that really turned him into a championship challenger, was keeping it more in line.
Yeah. Now, just to recap, we've had 3 races so far in the Moto2 European Championship, 2 in Portimao at the first round in the Algarve, and 1 race at the Barcelona-Catalunya round. As the paddock, as you can see, nice and busy. It's completely free, the FIM CEV Repsol, which is say, if you ever want to come down to one of the rounds, whether it's this one or any of the rounds in the future, which is Albacete on the 6th of September, Navarra the 4th of October, Jerez on the 1st of November, and Valencia on the 15th. Completely free to come down and visit. Just turn up and you can get pit lane passes, you can get anything you like, really. It's brilliant here. Yeah,
and the really good thing about the CEV is that all the riders are so friendly, you know. As you know, obviously if it's during a qualifying session, maybe the riders don't want to have a chat, but you know, if it's in the evening and you see a rider, feel free to, you know, say hola, and you know, you can have a chat about anything, and they're a lot more revealing and a lot more honest about their issues.
It's very open here as well, isn't it? Yeah, you can go up and talk to the guys and they'll talk to you about what happened, why they were slow in qualifying. It's a brilliant paddock and a great experience. But let's just recap the championship at the moment. There is one man who we touched on earlier who's been dominating everything. It's a Spaniard, Edgar Pons, part of the Pons family, obviously son of Cito, brother of Axel, racing the Moto2 World Championship on the Paginas Amaryllis HP40 junior bike. He currently leads the championship with 70 points, 2 race victories and a second, ahead of Javi Vierge on the Team Targo Bank Motorsport Tech 3 machine with 45 points. He won in Portimao in the second race and was second in the first race. And Luca Marini, Valentino Rossi's half-brother, Edgar Pons' teammate, he's third in the championship, 1 point behind Vierge with 44 after a second place finish in Barcelona.
Yeah, Marini has been a bit of a surprise, to be honest. He really struggled in the CEV Moto3 class last year. A lot of that was due to his size and the bike he was on. They really didn't work well together. But it seems like this Moto2 bike, much bigger bike than Moto3, obviously. It's really suiting Marini's style. And he's been up there, you know, and it's on his own merit that he's up there and on the podium last time out in Barcelona.
And we've got a number of teams, as I say, that you'll notice. Look, there is Edgar Pons on the Paginas Amaryllis HP40 junior bike. Again, linked to the teams in the Moto2 European Championship. Rumours are Edgar Pons already going up to the championship next year.
Yeah, it seems like he has a couple of different offers, and you know, his main choice now is whether he wants to stick with his dad or be like brother Axel and, you know, maybe venture into another team.
Yeah, and as you said, we'll get to see him. He will be lining up on pole position here. He has been the runaway, you know, class rider in this championship so far, but don't miss out, you know, don't underestimate Vierge, for instance, a brilliant rider. There's Alan Tescher as well, came second in the race here last year before crashing out in race 2. I think we're going to see a really dramatic Moto2 race, and as we say, it's completely unknown for these guys. Not many of them have run race simulations, how tyres are going to last. But that's another thing to touch on. Tyres, they say, same as Moto2, aren't they?
Yep, supplied by Dunlop. We'll get the tyre sheet in just as they line up on the grid. You know, there's still that last chance then to swap tyres on the grid in case they find on this warm-up lap. Already Edgar Pons, a bit of a wobble there as he hard on the brakes, but that's really just how Edgar likes to ride. Nice and loose. You know, sometimes you think he's having a bit of a moment, but no, it's just him slipping and sliding around.
I remember when you were commentating on your first race, watching him, and it was a case of, oh, this guy's, he's going to have an accident. No, that is just his style. He's very much like a Sam Lowes. He likes to get the most out of it. So we've got the riders now lining up on the grid. We'll run through the grid for you very, very shortly. It looks like we're getting ready for this Moto2 European Championship race. 2 races for Moto2 today, only 1 Superbike, which will be up next, and then we'll have another Moto3 race later too. We've got a British rider in the field today. No Bradley Ray, because he's actually at not Rock Hill for British Superstock, isn't he? He's riding today.
Stock 600.
So he won't be on the Virus hub steer bike. Had struggled last time out, 31st, qualified in Catalonia and didn't finish during the race. But also we have got Nicky Coates. Now, a rider who a lot of people would have heard about, had a wild card in 125 World Championship back in 2007. Real potential British rider, but just never really delivered on that yet, has he?
No, he's struggled a bit. You know, one injury can really set you back in racing. And much like Moto3, this is a hugely multicultural field. There's 17 different nationalities in Moto2. You know, it's not just you Brits are in here. We've got an Australian in Corey Turner, number 52. So we've also got, you know, riders.
You don't really care about anyone else, just the Australians.
Just the Australians. But, you know, we also have a fair few Swiss riders, a lot of French riders. Ramdan Rosley, he's from Malaysia. So, again, a huge mix of riders riding outside of their home country to come to what is the highest level of Moto2 outside the World Championship.
And that is pole sitter Edgar Pons, just 20. And as we say, 2 wins, 2 pole positions, 3 podiums this year. That's not bad going, is it? First, second, first in the 3 races that you've had. A man who has been, as I say, a real class above. Racing the championship last year, his 3rd, I believe, was he not?
Yeah, he had a really strong showing last year, 2 wins, but it looks like this year with the likes of Raffin and the rules slightly changing, the rule change really seems to have favoured him. There's his brother Axel Pons being his umbrella holder. Axel currently racing in the World Championship. Axel's having a bit of a mixed time, shall we say, but you know, he's here to help out his brother with some lines. I saw them debriefing after qualifying, so you know, it really is a family affair at Pons.
Yeah, and it's something to say about the FIM CEV Repsol. I know we had Alex Ren's team wildcarding at the last round in Barcelona as well. You do get a lot of the riders who've come through the championship, and it reads a who's who. You know, 70% of the riders in the World Championships have come from the CEV Repsol, and there is Javi Vierge, as we say, starting from 2nd on the grid.
Also on the Tech 3 bike, as is his teammate Alan Tescher. That Tech 3 bike really struggling in the World Championship, but here it seems the Tech 3 is able to compete. And you know, that's also really good for the team to be able to develop their chassis, not just in the World Championship, but also here. More data, always good. And here's Luca Marini, as we said, hugely impressive, just 17 years old, already on the podium.
Yeah, and everyone will talk about the fact that he is Valentino Rossi's half-brother. But you know what? This kid has gone out there and shown everyone that he's got the ability to ride no matter what relations or family ties he's got. And 3rd in the championship as we stand. I think, you know, there's a lot of potential from this young kid coming through. And you know, I say kid, 17, it makes him almost old out in the fields that we're kind of watching today. But starting from 3rd on the grid for him is a brilliant front row start from in qualifying. Yeah,
exactly, and he's been fast not only in the races but also in qualifying. And here is Eric Granado. He's staying at the same hotel as us. He had a lovely walnut and ice cream dessert the other night. I was a bit jealous, to be honest.
Yeah, Eric Granado, the Brazilian, racing for the Andorran Promo Racing team.
Yep, he's also a former World Championship runner. He debuted in the Moto2 class. Had to miss most of the season because he was too young for the Moto2 rules. You know, Granado there showing us just how hot it is. All of these riders really enjoying the shade of their umbrella for just the last few seconds before they have to get out there.
And Grado managed a 4th and a podium in Portimao, and then an 8th in Catalunya, qualifying 4th at the front of the 2nd row here. It's equalled his best qualifying performance of the season. So it could be interesting to see how he goes. And there we have him. Stephen Odendahl, another rider you might be familiar with from the Moto2 World Championship, rode this year on the Calyx.
Yep, he replaced Axel Pons when Axel was injured. They both raced for the same team. Obviously, Odendahl in the junior AGR team. You know, clearly he knows what he wants to give, 100%. Odendahl was saying yesterday that he did need to find a bit more confidence, so clearly that hat is all the motivation he needs, hopefully.
Yeah, and Odendahl, another rider who's been obviously in this championship for a while now, has impressed so far this season. He finished 3rd in the first one in Portimao, DNF in the 2nd one, and then 4th in race 1 in Catalunya.
And here is one of the most explosive riders on the grid, Alan Tescher, another guy used to run in Moto3 in the World Championship. But last year, Tescher, he was in the top 5 for, you know, 50% of the races, really good result. It's just that unfortunately he didn't finish the other 50% of the races.
Yeah.
So he'll be one to watch in this race, as you said, on the podium last year, but also crashed. So a good showing of what he can do, but this season seems to be much more consistent.
He looked a little bit sore there. Has he had an accident in practice or qualifying?
Yeah, in Q2, unfortunately, he brought out a red flag with a pretty nasty crash. So he might be one who might fade towards the end of the race.
Right now, Federico Fellini from the team Chiatti, another Italian rider.
Yep, and he's actually another VR46 Academy rider, so he gets to train with Valentino Rossi. All the VR46 riders were out at Misano during the week doing some, you know, different dirt track and some superbike training as well. So that's some really good resources for him to tap into. Yeah,
he was 16th in last year's CEV Moto2 Championship, best place finish of 5th, although he did miss the last few rounds. That is important to talk about. We talk about the Rossi, the VR46 Academy. A lot of people, as you say, would just think, oh, it's someone putting their name to it, but he really does bring through the next young crop of young Italian riders, and it's something that he's really keen to emphasise, that he wants to make sure they have it. And Tetsuka Nakashima there in 8th
Yep. Yet again, you know, this Moto2 field especially is full of guys who used to race in the World Championship. Nagashima last year, racing for the JIR team, he had a pretty nasty crash at Silverstone, which cut his season short. But now he's back in the European Championship, rebuild some confidence and have another second go at that World Championship, hopefully. Yeah,
that crash at Silverstone, injured his shoulder, he broke his tibia and fibia. It was pretty nasty. And as you say, he's qualified in 8th, 5th last time out in Catalonia. So just trying to get back a bit of that confidence on that Moto2 bike.
Yep, and here's Alejandro Medina on the Ariane bike, which is a bike that you don't see in the World Championship, but the Ariane here has had, you know, pretty good success. Romano Ramos rode that bike to a championship in this class previously, so it's a solid bike. You know, not quite as high as the Calyx maybe, but Medina could be one to watch.
Yeah, he was 5th in the CEV Moto3 Championship in 2013. Last year was injured early on, but improved late on in the season, although didn't take any championship points, but took 6th place out in Catalonia and 8th and 7th in Portimao.
Yeah, and I think Medina's carrying a bit of an injury this weekend as well. I saw him eating dinner with only one hand.
So let's go through the grid then. As you saw, Edgar Pons on pole with Javi Viege and Luca Marini. I think those three, in fact, the front 2 rows are where we're going to probably see our winner come from today. Eric Granado, the Brazilian, the head of the second row. Stephen Odendahl, the South African, and Alan Tescher on the 6th at the end of the second row. Look at those different nationalities too.
Yep, then Federico Fellini in 7th, Tatsuka Nagashima 8th, and Alejandro Medina in 9th. I reckon Fellini could be a bit of a surprise. Fellini's teammate, Gabriel Ruhu, in 10th, ahead of Ramdan Rosley and Thibaut Burton, the oldest rider in the class, Thibaut.
Yeah, Ramdan Rosley, again, another name people might know from the Moto2 World Championship. As you can see, riders actually switch between the Moto2 European Championship and World Championship quite a lot of replacement riders. Scheib, Cardelis and Gradinger there on row 6. And row 7, we've got Pons, Enderlein and Gonzalez.
Followed by Mirelas, Buckner and Corey Turner doing it for Australia. Then Thomas Sigvartsen ahead of Stefan Frossard and Marcel Brenner in the Swiss team.
Yeah, in fact, you can see there's 4 Swiss riders together there, aren't they? Alexandre Sogwell, Damien Ramey and Albion Santana complete row 10, and that is your grid for race 1 in the Moto2 European Championship. Guys will be heading out on their warm-up lap very shortly, and we should be in for some action, but the debate is, which everyone's been talking about, and what's great here is you do sit in the media centre, you do walk through the paddock, you can talk to the riders and the team managers, and we're chatting to people, and is anyone going to be able to stop Pons today?
I don't know, his pace is really solid. You know, he was 0.3 of a second faster than anyone else in qualifying, and he was, you know, that sort of pace as well last time out in Barcelona, and he absolutely dominated there. But I reckon Fellini could be up there. Fellini's my tip. Fellini is on Xavier Simeon's old World Championship Suter machine, gifted to them by the Grassini team. So, you know, he's got some good kit under him, and he's really been stepping it up this season, you know. Pretty disastrous round in Portimao, starting 33rd with double retirements after some pretty severe engine problems. But since then, he's been working his way up, and he's my secret pick if I was a betting man.
Keep an eye out for Fellini then, starting from the head of the 3rd row when the race gets underway. He wears number 22. And you can see Pons and Odendahl using that as a practice start there.
Yep, and you'll notice that Santana is actually on a Yamaha R6. That is because he runs in the sub-stock class. He is the only rider participating in the stock class this round, so hopefully he'll be on for a good result.
Yeah, there are 4 in the stock class in general in total that have competed so far this season. Santana is the only one who actually got points in Barcelona Catalunya as well. So, yeah, he was the only one to finish there, wasn't he? So if he just keeps the bike up, right, he will be leading that championship by a good 29 points. So he's currently got a 4-point lead over Marcos Ramirez.
Yeah, but, you know, this really does highlight the difference between these Moto2 bikes, which are pure race bikes, and, you know, the Yamaha R6 that he could probably ride down to the shops if he stuck some headlights on it.
Yeah, headlights and wing mirrors, and you could do it. They are obviously, as you say, conversion road bikes. No, Moto2, the class, as we said, designed to mirror the Moto2 World Championship. Same tyres providers, as we've talked about already. So many riders switching between the 2 championships as wildcards. We'll see, I should imagine, many more this season as well, getting a chance, because people are watching this championship. The Moto3 Junior World Championship, the Moto2 European Championship, and the Superbike European Championships, to see the next young talent come through, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly. You know, fans and managers alike really look at this class for who the next really big guy is going to be. You have a huge variety of riders coming through this championship. It's almost easier to name riders that haven't been through CEV.
Well, 70%, as we say, of all riders in the World Championship have come through the FIM CEV Repsol at some point, which, you know, just demonstrates how much of a proving ground this is, because the bikes, as we say, are the same, the teams are the same, and they get to ride on some incredible tracks. And you've just been handed the tyre allocation there,
yes,
Harry.
And all of the top 10 are on exactly the same tyres, compound 2 on the front and compound 1 on the rear, which is also the same compounds that all these guys qualified with. So, you know, potentially we could see some times quite similar to qualifying. There wasn't too much of a drop-off between qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 for these Moto2 guys. So I reckon we could see a pretty high race pace. The current race lap record from last year is a 154.25. That's from the World Championship. That's Tom Luthi who set that. So, you know, based on some of these qualifying times, I reckon they could get pretty close to that, if not beat it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Jessica Raffins, to give you an indication of the pace, his pole lap round here last year was a 154.882, I believe. He actually went quicker in the race. Well, the pole lap in the Moto2 World Championship, the record is a 153.296, which is Marc Marquez, isn't it? Back in 11, he said that.
Yes, and as we've come to see, Marc Marquez is pretty special on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think any rider's going to feel too bad. But, you know, one of these years that record will fall, and it could be here. You know, we've seen lots of fast riders come through and continue to do well in Moto2. The likes of Alicia Spargo, he won his title in Moto2 the first ever year here, and now he's a factory Suzuki rider. As
you say, so many riders from the World Championships have come through here and cut their teeth. This man could be a potential Moto2 frontrunner. We never know. Edgar Pons lining up in pole position ahead of Javi Vieje on the Targo Motorsport bike. Luca Marini, his teammate, completes the front row. Granado, Odendahl, Tesch's the third row, and Fellini, Nagashima and Medina complete the front 3 rows. So you have your Moto2 European Championship.
Yep, final preparations, riders limbering up, lights go out, and we're almost ready.
The lights will come on just for between 1 and 3 seconds and then disappear, and that is a signal for the riders to go. You can hear them revving their engines. The lights are on, and the lights are out, and we are going. This Moto2 European Championship race almost looked like a bit of a jump start there for Pons. He got away brilliantly, though, and so is his teammate Fellini. But is that Odendahl is moving to second from the grid? Excellent start from Odendahl.
And oh no, a big high side towards the back there. Not quite sure who that is at this early stage.
They've run off into the gravel, but that is Pons who's leading through the first set of corners. Odendahl into second, as you mentioned.
And there is the rider up and walking. He looks to be okay. So we have Pons again leading, but Odendahl's right behind him. And I think this was really important for Odendahl to make a good start.
Yeah, as we said, we can't let Pons get away at the front. Odendahl will be wary of that. We have got the yellow flag out of turn 1, as you can see. Bit of a nightmare start for Fellini moving back throughout the field there into 9th place.
Yeah, there's a reason I don't bet usually. So hopefully Fellini can come back from that and prove that my tip was right. But it looks like Odendahl's really all over the back of Pons here. And it looks like they've also made a small gap already.
Yeah, it's very interesting, actually. See these guys almost pulling away. Look at Vieje in third on that Targo Bank Motorsport machine. So these are the front 3. We kind of expected to be up there. I thought Marini might be up there as well. And there's the rider who went down. It was Andre Gonzalez.
The Argentinian rider. Hopefully they can get him cleared before the bikes come back round. Or maybe we'll see another red flag. Here's his vicious high side here. In the middle of the picture, it looks like he made a bit of contact and then unfortunately bounced across the asphalt there.
That's on the Mr. Griffel MVR, and incredibly lucky when you think first corner, everyone tipping in there, he didn't take anyone out with him. So, you know, great work. We need to avoid making contact with other riders. So just to recap then, as we are coming up to come the back straight on lap 1, it is Pons from Odendahl, Vieje, Granado, Tesha and Marini are your top 6 at the moment.
Yeah, and Marini's made a bit of a terrible start, to be honest. You know, he started on the front row and is now back behind Nagashima now. Eric Granado, he's made a solid start just behind Vieja there with Tesha just behind Granado. Granado and Tesha have had some pretty fiery battles in the Moto3 World Championship when they were both up there previously.
What would you say about Tesha? An incredibly explosive rider, and we've just got the time between rider 74, crashed but okay, which is good news for Gonzalez. But yeah, no, incredibly aggressive rider, but he's got a real win it or bin it attitude. As you saw him finish second last year and then in this round, but also crash out of it. But is Pons starting to break away? He was 3/10 quicker than Odendahl, 4/10 on that first lap, with Vieje another 5/10 back. So it could be interesting if anyone can stick with that Paginus Amaryllis HP40 Junior team bike of Edgar Pons.
Yeah, Odendahl will really have to rally, you know, with Vieje already almost a second back. That's going to be tough for Vieje, so I think it's going to be down to Odendahl to try and catch Pons and hopefully slow him up so the rest of the field can get up in that fight.
We've got all the top 22 riders separated by just over 10 seconds at the moment as they come through for that first lap. So you'll start to see them kind of settle into a bit of an order, don't you? They obviously have almost not a ranking system, but it is there. Different riders, different teams are going at different paces. Look at Pons dangling his foot there, very much Rossi style, to get the bike slowed down as they come through the corkscrew. Impressive shot there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And as we were saying before, you know, that's almost a 3-story drop. The TV cameras don't quite do it justice. There is Cito Pons, dad to Edgar, and team owner.
Edgar then pulling away at the front here. A bit of a gap. We are definitely seeing a second gap almost between Vieje in third and Eric Granado, the Brazilian, in fourth.
Yeah, so it looks like we could have a battle for second and third. We'll really have to see if Odendahl can reel Pons in, because at the moment it looks like Pons is, you know, able to set his own lap times. Oh, very hard on the brakes there, getting his foot down, all that extra grip he can to help him stop.
He's so hard on the brakes there on the curbs. That's something that Marquez has obviously brought into racing. This guy's just not afraid to run on curbs, brake on curbs, be full braking on curbs, accelerating. So as you see, the riders in brilliant shot as they filter through onto the back straight. But Pons already opening a gap up there. It's almost a second already over Ovendal.
Yeah, Ovendal not able to benefit from that slipstream, unfortunately. And even Vieja being half a second back on Ovendal, he'll maybe just be able to feel it. But it looks like these top three are really starting to spread out. But the battle for fourth, that looks like it's going to be a hot one.
Yeah, for fourth at the moment it is Eric Granado ahead of Tesha and Nagashima. And there was no jump start, so despite it looking like a couple of riders actually got the perfect start, we often see that. We saw that, didn't we, in the MotoGP as well, where people thought someone had a jump start and actually turns out it just had the perfect start.
Yep. Perfect may be a generous word for the start that you were talking about. But anyway, back to the action now. It's Vieja. He's just behind Ovendal. Vieja obviously had a pretty tough time in Barcelona, crashing out.
Something hanging off his bike there, actually. That looks a bit ragged. If you see on the left-hand side of Vieja's bike, now that could just be the tear-off strip for the radiator. I don't know, but it looks like something, like a hose or something, is hanging off the side.
Yeah, there's certainly something flapping about. It looks like that's a bit of fairing damage there. It looks like his rear fairing, someone's given it a bit of a knock, and it looks like something just flew off Ovendal's bike as well. So,
but that's definitely a loose bit of fairing. That could become quite dangerous actually later throughout the race. So it'd be interesting to see. He might actually get black flagged if that becomes any worse.
Yeah, that, and it's just something, that maybe you're leaning over in the left hand and you feel it hit your foot, and that causes you to sit up and lose some time. It's one of those things that could be a bit of a tricky thing for him.
Now that's a new circuit record for Edgar Pons, breaking the 1:55 we were talking about, 4:56 in the Moto2 European Championships by Jessica Raffin last year. That's an incredible time, a 1:54.489 from Edgar Pons.
And only 0.2 off Thomas Luthi's best race time from last year, so already at World Championship level. We saw Edgar Pons 2 wildcards in the World Championship, just outside the points in both those races, but certainly an impressive showing as Vieja, despite that fairing damage, seems to be closing
He really does. Now this is where I think what we're going to do after about 5 or 6 laps, what you're going to see is we're entering into unknown territory on these tyres really, so it'll be very interesting to see how they're affected. But as you can see, it's Fellini, look, and Luca Marini back in 6th, not really making an impression on Alan Tesser and Granado ahead of them. Quite spread out nicely at the moment. All the riders having a bit of space.
Yeah,
nice Sunday ride.
Yep, as you saw at the back of the shot there, Granado just weaving off the racing line to try and break the slipstream to Tesha, make sure he doesn't gain too much advantage. It looks like that, yep, Granado has been able to maintain that position, but certainly Tesha's inching in there ever closer.
So your top 10 as they come across the line for completing lap 3 is Pons, Ovendal, Vieja, Granado, Tesha in 5th, Marini 6th, Fellini 7th, Nagashima, Medina and Ruhu completing the top 10.
Yep, and it is the other Pons rounding out the points in 15th. That is Miquel Pons, who didn't race at Barcelona, but scored a top 10 finish in the first race in Portugal. And
not related, we should say, to Axel or Cetal or Edgar Pons. They do have another brother, but he's not a race driver. I believe they don't want him to join the family sport.
Yeah, certainly good to mix it up with the kids and make sure that all your eggs are in one basket. But a strong lap there from Alan Tesha, closing in on Eric Granado. Both of these guys, as I said, fought before in Moto3, so they know the sort of riders that they are, and I definitely class both these riders as aggressive. Yeah,
very aggressive. I don't think you can survive in Moto2 unless you like a little bit of elbow bashing. This is the battle for 4th, and Tesha just behind Granado, and as you say, ahead Edgar Pons already 1.7 seconds ahead after 3 laps. Well, we called it right by saying, is anyone going to be able to catch him? But it's quite an easy call to make in this championship so far this season from the pace he has shown.
Yep, and we have a yellow flag at turn 9, so we'll bring you more information when we know it, but probably a rider has unfortunately crashed there. There is the Pagnias Amarias 40 team. Rider number 10 has crashed.
Oh, and that is Luca Marini. So we were just talking about him. He was 6th, and he's obviously gone down. There he is. Ooh.
Limping away there, but he's up, so hopefully it's nothing serious. Looks like he's holding his left hip there and his left leg, but he's walking, so hopefully nothing broken there, but we'll bring you more updates when we get them.
Devastated for Marini, because as I say, first podium this season in Catalunya. He'd have hoped to have followed that up here after qualifying 3rd on the grid, so we'll get more news on it as we can. There is Ovendal, and Vieja, looks like he might be closing on him.
Yeah, it also looks like Granado had disappeared. Granado's dropped down to 7th there when he was fighting for 4th, so maybe Granado and Marini had a bit of a moment. Not quite sure, though.
But great spot. I think that might have been the case. So across the line they come for lap 4 completing, and it's Pons, Ovendal and Vieja after Marini has, as I say, crashed out, unfortunately, down at turn 9. Yeah,
Granado, his lap time there at 2 minutes dead, which is about 5 seconds slower than the rest of the field, so pretty big moment for Granado, clearly.
Yeah, huge. We'll see if we can get a replay on that at some point. Ramdan Rosli just fought his way into the top 10. So the Malaysian rider, as you say, used to the heat here, and maybe using his experience in that as the race goes on.
Yep, and here is Nagashima now ahead of Eric Granado. It'll be interesting to see if Granado can close him down. Nagashima set a 1:55.8 on that lap, which was the best time of the guys inside the top 10, but it's still just a bit off the pace of the top 5. So it looks like Nagashima will just have to battle Granado for 6th place there.
Yeah, Nagashima there on the Tuluru TSR Calyx bike, and as you say, former Moto2 rider, and as a wild card with Team JIR. So he knows his sport, he knows how to ride, and Granado will just have a lot of work to get past the Japanese rider now.
Certainly.
But Fellini, look, he's up into 5th. Your little dark horse for the race. He's 5.5 seconds back from Pons at the front, but definitely could be involved in that battle for the podium if he can get past Tesha with Granado not in the way now. Then it's just Vierge left.
Pons' lap times have also dropped a fair bit. Last lap he was in the 1:54s, but then this lap it's the 1:55.2 so far. So Oendal's just 0.2 behind. So maybe we could see Oendal start to eke into this almost 2-second gap as the race goes on. And yeah, maybe Edgar was a bit too harsh on his tyres there.
You never know, because he obviously felt he had to get away at the front. Just looking at Vierge, definitely appears to have closed the gap on Odendaal, which is would be exciting to see them in the battle for 2nd here, as you can see. Although Odendaal seems to pull away from him on the straight, isn't he, on that AGR bike?
Oendal's really got that Calyx set up for the straights, certainly. And Vierge not able to keep up with him there as they come around onto the start-finish straight.
So Odendaal, as you say, Vierge closing through the twisty bits, but then Odendaal able to pull away on the straights and crosses the line in 2nd place. Edgar Pons gap 2.3 seconds at the front.
As he gets all twisted up into turn 1, lots of people would just say that's his riding style. And clearly, it's still working. That gap is now extended by 0.5 second. So clearly that last lap was just a bit of a blip. He's now dropped his times again. Still in the 1:55s, but a 1:55.1, 0.3 seconds faster than Odendaal. So it really looks like, again, we're going to have a battle for 2nd.
And they are really spreading out actually behind Vierge in 3rd. Alan Tesha in 4th is just under 2 seconds back from Vierge. You've got Fellini in 5th, who's another 1.5 back. Nagashima 2.5 seconds back in 6th. Granado, as we said, just behind Nagashima actually by a couple of tenths and closing on him. And then it is Medina, who's another 3 seconds back. And there's a great battle going on for 9th at the moment between Ruhu, Rosley, Bertan and Gradinger.
Yep, and then there's also a great battle for 14th with Pons, Corey Turner, Nicky Coates, all battling in there. So hopefully we'll be able to get a bit of a shot of that in a bit. But right now we're with Odendaal as he looks to be extending his lead over Vierge. I'm not sure we'll be able to cut into Edgar Pons, who we see with the beautiful mountains in the backdrop.
Do you know what? I think this gap is starting to drop. It was 2.3 when they came across the line. It's 2.2 as they come through that sector. It'll be interesting to see what it's like when they come down the back straight.
Yeah, and if there'll be enough laps. It's all very well and good that you're eking out 0.2. But with 10 laps left, that might not be enough.
There's definitely some damage to Vierge's bike, but look, it's scraping on the floor when he goes into a left-hander. You think that would be affecting slightly, but maybe not feeling it at all.
Yeah, I mean, right now it looks like it's just a fairing, which shouldn't hinder him too much. Maybe it messes up the aerodynamics just a tiny bit, but he seems to be able to stick with Odendaal there, not able to close, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, and on that lap, it was interesting to see Fellini, the man you said could be a dark horse, recording a time almost as quick as Pons at the front, a 1:51.1, his personal best of the race, and yeah, rather rapid, almost 0.5 second quicker than the guys in front of him. Yeah,
and it actually looks like that damage on Vierge's bike's getting worse as we have a yellow flag come out at turn 15. Again, we'll bring you more information when we know that, but the battle for 2nd does rage on as it looks like Vierge seems to be really strong in the tight and twisty bits, whereas Odendaal seems to be able to make it work just a tiny bit better.
Rider 15 crashed. That is Thomas Sigvardsson on the H43 Talasor Blue Mac H43 bike. His first season racing in the CV. He went down at turn 15. Rider, okay, we got a yellow flag there though. And you're right, look, Vierge's fairing, definitely scraping on the floor in left-handed corners, and there are 7 on this track. That could get a lot worse as the race goes on. So maybe he mentally will have to at some point think, look, I can try and build a bigger gap between myself and Tesha as I can. It's already 2.3 seconds, because that could cause some problems. I mean, it's not going to affect his riding, but if pits start flying off it, then he might get in trouble with race direction.
Yeah, certainly that is one thing to keep an eye on. Here they come down through the corkscrew.
And this is
with
Tesha.
Alan Tesha, and Fellini's gaining on him. That last lap, Fellini was 0.5 second faster than Tesha. So we could also have an exciting battle for 4th. And, if there is a bit of unfortunate circumstances with Vierge, that could become a fight for 3rd.
And it's Edgar Pons at the front managing this gap very well. 2.3 last time around. It's up to about 2.4 now. It had dropped down to 2.2. So, as you say, I think there are sectors where Pons is probably, well, people aren't as quick as Odendaal as such and Vierge, but it does look like he's controlling it beautifully.
Yeah, and also Pons back into the 154s. So clearly he is controlling that pace and just trying to keep a nice, comfortable gap without taking too many risks.
Yeah, and also preserve his tyres, obviously. You know, there's no point going out there and burning out your tyres if you don't have to.
And with the second race coming out this afternoon, he doesn't want to burn himself out physically because, you know, there's not too much time between these races. It's a pretty go schedule here. So there's no time to get a massage, let's put it that way.
Yeah, so they're coming around through the final 2 turns to complete lap 7 of 15, and it is Pons that comes across the line. And we'll give you an update on his lead. That's Odendahl's crew chief telling him to get a wriggle on. It's 2.7 seconds now, Pons, so comfortable gap at the front. Half a second.
Here comes Fellini.
Oh.
Fellini having a look, not quite close enough for Tesha, but I reckon Fellini will have him by the end of this race, certainly. And this will be an interesting battle to watch between Tesha and Fellini, because as I've said, you know, Tesha's a hugely talented rider, maybe not always staying on 2 wheels as often as he needed to last season, but this season he seems to be better. Yeah,
Tesha there was almost 0.6 slower than Fellini on the last lap. Fellini's lapping pretty much at the pace of the front 3 now. Maybe not Pons, but sorry, Odendahl and Vierge. So he'll want to get past Tesha, actually, won't he?
It actually looks like Tesha might have a bit of a problem. Tesha setting a 156 last lap, whereas all the other guys were in 150.2s.
It does look like Fellini's closing up on him rather dramatically now. So I don't know if he's got an issue, or maybe he ran wide.
Maybe it's also, you know, maybe it's maybe he is still a bit sore from his quite hefty crash yesterday in qualifying 2. So maybe it is, you know, he's just not quite as physically comfortable on the bike, not able to push as much as he'd like. So hopefully he'll be able to at least put up a bit of a fight, but it does look like they've got a pretty comfortable lead over Granado, who's now moved up into 6th. You know, that's a 4-second gap. So hopefully Tesha will at least be able to defend 5th.
Okay, so let's have a look. Here you have it. This is, as you say, Tesha with Fellini. Tesha loves this circuit. On the podium, as you mentioned last season in race 1, before crashing out in race 2. To be very interesting, the battle for 4th in the lead. Edgar Pons, 2.6 seconds ahead of Odendahl, and Vierge now closing the gap on Odendahl to just 0.4 of a second. But it looks physically closer by the eye, does it not?
Yeah, and it looks like Fellini here, he's making a big run at Tesha. You'll see just now coming to the middle of the shot, Fellini gets in front of Tesha. Can Tesha respond into these final 2 corners? That's the big question. But we're with Odendahl and Vierge now. Odendahl, again, he seems to be quite comfortably half a second or so in front of Vierge. Again, maybe controlling that gap, maybe happy to settle for 2nd.
Well, I think the pace of Pons is, there's no one out there that can match it. As you say, brilliant move by Fellini to come up into 4th, and we have completed 50% of the lap, so if we were to get a red flag now, this race would stand as final decision with full points awarded. And look at that, that's Granado with Nagashima behind him. Those two, Nagashima, big moment, tipping into turn 1, almost completely losing it.
Yeah, certainly, both those riders. It looks like Nagashima's able to stick with him. Both their lap times were their personal best lap times of the race so far. Low 151s. Nagashima slightly faster than Granado there, but that's one of the good things is when you're following a rider, you know that you can brake just a tiny half a metre later, and it's often described as being much easier to follow than it is to lead because you don't have to set the braking marks and all that sort of thing.
No problem, man. No, yeah, so as you say, they're recording the low 155s, absolutely smashing it here. So it's interesting to see people's pace increase as the race goes on. For instance, Granado on the last lap was quicker than Pons at the front. Yeah,
so clearly Pons, the gap for Pons is now up to 3 seconds. So I reckon Pons is, as we've said, you know, just taking it nice and steady. But this is another excellent performance from Edgar Pons, as we saw in Barcelona. Right now, it really looks like the championship is really being thrusted in Pons' direction, especially with Vierge down in 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about 35 lead at the top, the 35-point lead at the top of the championship with 2 races here, obviously, and then we've got 1 in Albacete, 2 in Navarra, 1 in Jerez, 2 in Valencia. So there's not long for people to catch him after this race. If he could go away with a double from here, he would have a huge lead in the championship and would be definitely nailed on favourite for it so far. But again, great battle. Look at Granado and Nagashima here for the battle for 6th. It's a great match ahead of them. Let's just recap. It's Pons in the lead, Odendahl in 2nd, 3/10 ahead of Vierge in 3rd. Fellini, your man, dark horse for the podium, doing brilliantly actually in 4th. Is he making a dent on Vierge at all?
I think the podium might be a bit too far with 7 laps to go. You know, that gap's just over 3 seconds. And that would be a really good result for Fellini. His previous best this season has been 9th last time out in Barcelona.
He's taken half a second off Vierge in the first 2 sectors alone. So don't write him off just yet.
I'm happy to stand corrected, certainly.
It could happen, you never know. They're equal through the 3rd sector, so maybe Vierge will get the hurry up a little bit from his pitbull coming around him. But I mean, look, Vierge, it's not exactly like he's sandbagging. He's trying to take Odendahl.
Yeah, and you know, maybe that battle between Odendahl and Vierge is slowing them down both a bit, and Fellini could be up there, but also a good performance from Gabriel Ruhu, Fellini's teammate, number 16, up in 8th position, just ahead of Medina, with Rosley rounding out the top 10.
And where's Nicky Coates, the British rider, down in 16th, having qualified in 17th. He'd be happy. You know, we'd prefer to try and break into the points, I'm sure, but he's involved in a pretty impressive battle for 13th at the moment that's led by Shibe, and then a couple of seconds back you've got Turner, the Australian man, Miguel Pons, Nicky Coates, and Cardelis is a couple of seconds back behind those guys in 17th.
Yeah, and it seems like the field has now started to stretch out a bit, and there's one or two riders, you know, fighting with each other, but otherwise it seems a pretty spread out race. Certainly with 6 laps to go, it looks like everyone's pretty much settled in, and I reckon it will be the likes of Fellini, Vieja, who saved it all for the last lap for a big move.
So Fellini on that last lap was only 0.08 of a second slower than Edgar Pons. He's lapping quicker than everyone ahead of him, and in fact, over half a second quicker than Javi Vieja in third. So could Fellini be closing the gap down? It's 3.038 seconds. I think it's going to be under that next time they come around.
Yeah, he's getting there, certainly. And it looks like Vieja has gotten up with Odendahl, and while it may seem like Vieja is gaining, that could also hinder him a bit, because now he does have to contend directly with Odendahl and isn't able to set lap times by himself.
Fellini definitely visually closing the gap. He'll have those guys as a reference point now. But look at Odendahl pull away from Vieja on the straight. I mean, that's so much power there. As you say, Vieja was down to within a bike length of him coming out of turn 15, and suddenly it's back to kind of 8 bike lengths.
Yeah, and in Moto2, everyone has the same engine based on a Honda CBR 600, but it's things like frames and setup that really does alter how top speed does perform.
Do you know, I swear Vieja was having a look up the inside there of Odendahl. I think he's getting the hurry up because Fellini, as you said, has closed that gap. Look at that, to what, 2.5 seconds? Another half a second, more than half a second, a lap he's taking out Vieja at the moment. So Vieja either needs to get past Odendahl or, you know, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, well, bit of a moment there for Edgar Pons, bit of a twitch, but yeah, the half a second gap closing down with 5 laps to go, that could put Fellini in the podium fight. But as I was saying, you know, it's frame and bike setup that really alter top speed in this Moto2 class, extending the wheelbase. It'll help you a bit with the top speed, make the bike that bit more stable. But then when you do things like that, it also hinders it in the tight and twisty sections, which is what makes this Aragon track so difficult to set a bike up for, because it is this mixture of fast flowing long straight, but then also, you know, this turn 8 and 9 corkscrew.
Tell you what, Granado and Nakashima are really getting a hurry on. They both recorded, well, 151.1 and a 155.1 and a 155.0 the last race, quicker than anybody else out on track. And that's almost half a second quicker, well, 0.4 than Edgar Pons at the front. Obviously, he's relaxing with a 4-second lead and not pushing as much as he can. But it's interesting. I think we are seeing tyre wear starting to play a part in these guys' times. Yeah,
and I think with Alan Tesher, who's lapping in the 156s, I think that Tesher, his physical condition after that crash, is really starting to play into it now. And I think he's going to, again, have to contend with Eric Granado.
I think Granado and Nagashima are going to catch him. He's got a big 13-second comfort gap between Ruhu in 8th, Tesher in 5th, but he's definitely going to have Granado and Nakashima on his tail. And here we go. He's having a look down the back straight. It is Pons with a huge gap over Odendahl. Yeah, again, it closed up, but look at Odendahl on the red ATR team bike. Stretched that lead, but Fellini visually closing. He again, that last lap, he was 0.6 quicker almost than Vieja. So I think we are going to see a 3-way battle here for second place.
Yeah, hopefully we will. And, you know, that's what makes these last 2 corners really interesting at Aragon. As we've said, you know, there's about 64 different lines you can take through those final 2 corners. You can take it as 1 corner, you can take it as 2 corners, you can go wide and sweep, or you can keep it nice and tight. As Vieja, again, closing up on Odendahl. Vieja is starting to look for a way through, but Odendahl's been able to make himself very wide this race.
So Vieja Fellini was 3 seconds 2 laps ago. It's now down to 2, but he was only 0.3 quicker on that last lap. So I don't know what I say if Vieja and Odendahl. I got the message. I think Vieja to get a bit of a hurry up on, and there are only 3 laps left after this. So yeah, it might be asking too much for Fellini to get involved in that battle for the podium, but you never know. It could happen as tyre wear comes into play. Edgar Pons and still a 4-second advantage at the front of the field over these two, are battling it out for second. Stephen Odendahl and Javi Vieja, I should say, pardon.
Yeah, and still a really good result for both Fellini and Ruhu, with that Team Chiati team running a lot of ex-Grassini parts. So, you know, again, we see another team that's getting help from a World Championship team. Maybe not fully associated with Grassini, but certainly a sister team, you'd say.
Another 0.2 Fellini has taken on Vieja in that first sector. He's really got the anchors on, and look at that fairing now hanging off Vieja's bike. That will be starting to cause some problems. I mean, aerodynamically that can't be great. It won't make a huge difference, but you'd notice that, wouldn't you?
But also, it's one of those things. If a slightly larger chunk flies off and goes into the chain, that could cause huge problems for him. But I would have thought that by now it would have ground away a bit, but it seems to still be flapping there.
But obviously no problem from race direction there. Seem quite happy with it. So Fellini, let's see if he can get this gap down under 2 seconds. Is he going to be quicker through the second sector? Well, Edgar Pons has just gone through. We've just had Odendal Vieja. Another 3/10. He's taken half a second in the first 2 sectors of this lap on Vieja. Now, this is interesting because we've got 2 more laps after this, I should say. And yeah, there is time for them to catch him. If he can take another half a second, he'll be involved in this battle on the final lap. He will literally come onto them as they come round to complete the penultimate lap. So there we have it. Odendal and Vieja. Will Vieja make a move on Odendal, or is he waiting until us? Look at Fellini visually closing that gap, and there is Granado on Tesha.
Just past. Beautiful pass there. Both of the guys stepping the back out just a tiny bit. Tesha running it a
really
bit
wide,
there.
actually. As you say, I think he's physically struggling, as you say. Really sore from the crash yesterday. In this heat, that can't be easy.
Yeah, certainly. That's the other thing. As we were saying before, you know, you have the heat beating down from the sun and the heat pouring up from the bike's engine, so it's really hot. Nicky Hayden once said about Malaysia, which experiences similar heats, is that it's like riding into a hairdryer, you know, just all that hot air blowing in your face constantly, and there's no break from it at all. So this is, you know, as much as it is about keeping the machine and the tyres all healthy, it's about keeping yourself healthy in these conditions.
Totally. And Granado there, having taken Tesha, is up into 5th. And it's Nagashima just dropping off the back of this group a little bit, another 6/10 back behind Tesha. But again, there's no incentive like seeing a rider in front of you, knowing that you can take him. And Tesha clearly struggling. So Nagashima will be looking for maybe try and take him in the last 3 laps to cement that 6th position. At the front, Fellini. Well, Vieja's overtaken Odendal. We've got on the timing screen here. Vieja has overtaken Odendal in that battle for seconds. So not quite sure what happened there. Maybe Odendal ran wide, or maybe Vieja realised it was time to get a wriggle on.
Yeah, and as we follow this battle between Granado, Tesha and Nagashima, it's really important for Granado now to try and push as hard as he can to try and get just that bit ahead of Tesha. For when it looks like Nagashima will probably be able to get through on Tesha, but hopefully Granado will be able to extend the gap to where he can comfortably sit in 5th.
Odendal having a pretty slow first sector there. I don't know if he's starting to experience some troubles, but let's have a look. Here we go. Odendal right behind Vieja as they come down the back straight there. Pons in the lead, and Odendal looking to make the move. No, just couldn't make it stick. Vieja just too strong under the brakes.
But Odendal taking a bit of a wider line here to try and get better drive down onto that front straight and into turn 1. And this is what we mean about these final 2 corners, is they can produce for some dramatic finishes to the race, as riders do opt for these pretty different lines.
Let's have a look at the gap back to Fellini. Fellini, again, quicker that time around, but not actually catching the guys, the looks of it. So only quicker than Odendal a little bit. Oh, but then Vieja, has he run wide? Yep, and Odendal's through. No.
But the thing with running wide there is that it allowed him to cut back in and block Odendal. But Odendal's trying to go up the inside again. You can't blame the kid for trying, that's for sure.
Yeah, it looked like he had, as you say, left the door open there for Odendal. But Vieja, good enough to respond and take the inside line in the next right-hander. And real battle for second.
Both of these riders are taking very different lines. They're running wider at different points and keeping it tighter at different points. So it's really interesting to see how these 2 bikes and these 2 riders perform.
Yeah, and as you say, I tell you what, Vieja on that last lap, a 1:55.8, quickest rider, well, not the quickest actually, Granado was 1:55.3, but the quickest out of these top 3. And you'd expect him to almost be putting away from Odendal, but it doesn't look like he can, because Odendal, as we know, he might not have the pace in the twisties, has got the power on the straight.
And it looks like Fellini's challenge has unfortunately faded. He's now 2 seconds behind Odendal, and with just 1.5 laps to go, that looks like a bridge too far.
He was closing them down by half a second. I think these guys got the message. They've got the wriggle on. Vieja now trying to get involved.
And a strong showing from Santana, the only stock 6 rider in the class. He's keeping it upright, so he's on track for another victory in the class. He's
back in 26th place. Nekfazil's into the pits as well. Just seeing that number 2, Marco Nekfazil, on the Interwet and Fritz tuning bike, the FTR. Also an FIM endurance rider, an IDM Superstock and Supersport rider out in Germany. But here we go. So it's Pons. As you can see, the back marker.
Yep, just behind there is Santana, the rider we were just talking about. His lap times are about 10 seconds off, which, you know, considering the bike he's on, is actually pretty good. You know, he's under no illusion that he's never going to win the race outright. And
Odendal has retaken 2nd place. That's the important thing. He came out onto the back straight. That power on Odendal's bike really played to his hand. But look at Granado closing the gap on Fellini. We only have 1 lap after this. They crossed the line to complete 14 out of 15. It's currently Pons ahead of Odendal, which might change this first corner. Vieja, Fellini, Granado, Tesha, Nagashima, Ruhu, Rosley and Bertania top 10. Here's Vieja up the inside into turn 1.
Nah, has a look, but just not close enough. Odendal's really got it sewn up there. So
and someone's run on. I believe that was Fellini, wasn't it? It's just run on. Granado?
I think that was Santana running on to avoid the riders just behind.
The wildcard rider getting out of the way sensibly, actually, so apologies there. But Vieja definitely not letting Odendal go here. He wants his 2nd spot on the podium.
And Odendal will really have to start taking some defensive lines, as Edgar Pons is, you know, just slipping and sliding around. Oh, it looks like Vieja's taking a really different line through there, but not quite able to close in on Odendaal. It actually looks like Odendahl's been able to increase this gap slightly.
I think the problem is, unless Vieja can get past Odendaal, I don't think he's got the power to go past him on that long back straight, has he?
Yeah, that's the big thing, is as we've seen, Odendahl's really dominant in that second half of the straight and into those final corners. So unless Vieja can be in front of him or, you know, just behind him, I think it's going to be tough. And we're about to find out as they start the run down to the straight. You know, falling through that 3-story drop through the corkscrew around turn 10 through to turn 11, then a sharp left-hander, turn 11, run in front of the famous Aragon wall that so many photographers love to use as a backdrop.
Odendaal there, obviously searching for his second podium this season after finishing third last time in Portimao. Finished fourth, actually, in Catalunya race 1. Yeah, this would be his best result if he can hold on to second so far this season. And improvements we're seeing from all of these riders, I think, as we go through the rounds. Ponzo, look at that gap. It's obviously coming down. He's on the last lap. He's relaxed.
But does Odendaal... It looks like Odendaal has the drive. Vieja running a bit wide, having a bit of a moment there.
Trying to take advantage of the slipstream, but I don't think he'll have the power. Look, Odendaal pulling away.
And Granado's also gotten through on Fellini, so Granado's up into 4th position, which is a really good ride for him.
Fellini fighting back just on him there, because I believe Fellini's going to make a move into his last corner. Surely, look at the gap Odendaal Paul come around there. And we watch him come around the corner. Edgar Pons takes victory in the Moto2 European Championship race 1 here at MotorLand Aragón by almost 4 seconds.
Beautiful win there from Odendaal ahead of Vieja. Odendaal finishing in second, Vieja third.
And that's Fellini, who managed to overtake Granado, as I say, on that back straight to take 4th. Granado 5th, Nagashima 6th, Tesha, who we said was struggling quite visibly with a great result in 7th. And Harry is going to disappear down into Parc Ferme to chat to the guys, as they've done. Brilliant race there from Edgar Pons. So let's get the rest of the results as they come through. As I mentioned, Odendaal cementing 2nd place, Vieja 3rd. Ruhu just crossed the line in 8th, ran down Rosley in 9th. Thibaut Bertin has just finished in 10th, Medina's 11th, Gradinger's 12th. We're about to see this battle now between Sheeb, Miguel Pons, Corey Turner, Nicky Coates, all coming across the line any second now. Look at that as they come across there. That is Ricky Cardelas, Miguel Pons in 14th. She manages to take the last point-scoring position. Corey Turner, 16th, just outside the points. Nicky Coates, 17th, qualifying. Equaling his qualifying position. Pittit crosses in 18th. Morales, 19th. Enderlein, Max Enderlein in 20th. And Buckner in 21st. And those are your riders that have finished so far. But look at Pons. Brilliant victory for him. And never really looking in doubt that he was going to take that win. He controlled the race from the start. He was lapping almost half a second quicker than the rest of the riders. And then built up a 3-4 second gap. And then just controlled it brilliantly. You can see why a lot of people are excited about him going into the Moto2 World Championships next year. And I believe his dad, Cito, would want to sign him up for that Paginis Amaryllis HP40 team, as he's already riding for the junior team, and not follow his brother into the AGR team. So, confirmed results then. Edgar Pons take victory here in race 1 at MotorLand Aragón to add to his victory at race 1 in Portimao and in Barcelona, where we just had the 1 race, and his 2nd place in Portimao. That will extend his lead at the top of the championship, and he's going to pull off a nice big wheelie there. But a great result for Stephen Odendaal as well, the South African cementing 2nd place after a race-long battle with Javi Vieja. Vieja just missing out on straight line speed, it seems, and also with that damage to his bike. Federico Fellini, brilliant recovery from him to take 4th place. I've got to hand it to Harry, actually. I will say that because he's not in the booth at the moment, because he's gone down to Parc Ferme. It was a great shout from him. Luca Marini crashing out, unfortunately. I thought he would have been on for a good result today, but Eric Granado recovering from an early incident to cross the line in 5th, Nakashima in 6th. So, brilliant result. But here is Pons coming into pit lane on that Paginis Amaryllis HP40 junior team bike. He'll be giving that a good blast as well to entertain all the fans here. And we have got quite a few fans out taking the most of this, or making the most, should we say, of this free entry here. And there he is, congratulated by his team. Another brilliant victory. Look at Odendaal. Knew how much that would mean to him to step on to his best result of the season, actually. 2nd podium in the season. And 2nd place in follow-up, his 3rd from Portimao. And there is Javi Vieja. Now, Vieja, he's had a number of podiums this year already. He DNF'd, unfortunately, in the Catalunya race, but in Portimao, he was 2nd in race 1 and 1st in race 2. So he adds a 3rd to collect a nice little smattering of results there. 1st, 2nd and 3rd for the 17-year-old Spaniard. And as we say, you've got to remember these guys, young, talented, really looking to showcase themselves. And that was a great race. Really exciting to see Odendaal and Vieja battle throughout. That was brilliant. And we should be counting down to Harry very, very shortly. He's going to be grabbing Edgar Pons. I think a lot of people probably be wanting to chat to the Spaniard. There's a lot of people excited about his potential. As we say, it's not the easiest thing to go, even from this, the Moto2 European Championship, into the Moto2 World Championship. Obviously, it's another level step up. It's different circuits. But this year, by incorporating the Moto2 European Championship, they're trying to make it as level a playing field to step up from this into the World Championships with the same tyres, same bikes, same teams. And yeah, I think we are seeing the benefits of that, and we will do. And I think we could see Edgar Pons make a real impact in the Moto2 World Championships next year. And well, that means that obviously his lead at the top of the championship tables has extended. He'll be a very hard man to catch with another race to come later. Just to remind you, if you are just tuning in, that was Moto2 race 1 here. We have the Superbike race up next, then Moto3 Junior World Championship race at 2, and then at 3 o'clock we will have Moto2 European Championship race 2. Here are the official confirmation of the results, and Edgar Pons takes the race win by 3.7 seconds in the end from Stephen Odendahl. Javi Vierge, another 2.5 tenths back in third, with a great battle him and Odendahl had. Fellini, brilliant ride from him to take fourth. Granado, great recovery, really came on strong at the end for fifth. And there you can see the Frenchman Bertin in 10th, ahead of Medina, Gradinger, Cardulis, the Andorran on the Primo Racing bikes, an Andorran rider for an Andorran team. Miguel Pons, as I mentioned, no relation to Edgar or Axel Cito Pons. Max Sheeb in 15th, Corey Turner 16th, the Australian. Nicky Coates, the British rider, in 17th on the Ariane, and Pittet, the Swiss rider, in 18th. Pons also setting the fastest lap. We mentioned a 1:54.489 on lap 2. And your final results: Morales 19th, Enderlein, Max Enderlein finishes and crosses the line in 20th. We've got Buckner 21st, Stefan Frossard, and then, yeah, a quadruplet of Swiss riders. Marcel Brenner 4 seconds back. Big gap then between Damien Ramey and Sogel. And then Abian Santana, as mentioned, on the stock 600 R6. Rounding up the field, but taking the race victory in the stock 600. So he should be rather happy. Admittedly, he was the only rider in the field, so he just had to keep it upright. Right, we should have Harry down in Pot Ferme very, very shortly. I can see him getting ready to interview Edgar Pons. It's just a case of when he can get his hands on him. A very busy man, I should imagine. A man in demand. And then we'll have the podium. And then, as I say, we'll be gearing up for Superbike European Championship. And we only have one race for the Superbike Championship today, but it should be a good one. But Harry, yeah, is getting ready in Parc Ferme to have a chat with Edgar Pons, and we'll find out exactly what he thought of his comfortable race win in the first race this Moto2 Championship.
Hold up in the hot temperatures?
Yeah, it was really tough. I mean, in the start with the new tires, you can ride fast. I did a fast lap, but then with the heat, the tires just fell. Where I had zero grip. And also I had a really strange problem, no? I mean, my bike was bumping around. When I was braking, I couldn't brake straight. But so, well, in the beginning, I made a big gap, so I just relaxed it because it was really tough. The bike was closing in every hard brake, so I just went a bit slower, no? Relaxed a bit and tried to keep the gap, and that's it. Sí, la carrera ha sido muy dura. La verdad es que con el calor pues ha afectado mucho. Al principio, las primeras vueltas con el neumático nuevo se podía apretar y ir rápido, pero después han empezado a surgir problemas. La moto me rebotaba mucho en las frenadas y no conducía nada tranquilo ni seguro. Pero bueno, al principio haber abierto un agujero, pues he decidido aflojar un poco el ritmo y mantener la primera posición, que es lo importante, y muy contento de ganar esta carrera y ya pensando en la siguiente. Gracias, muchas gracias.
There we go, Edgar Pons then for the Bajimas and Morales, as we say, HP40 junior team taking a comfortable race victory by 3.7 seconds in the Moto2 European Championship Race 1. We're going to have a look at some highlights now, and it was Pons, Vierge and sorry, on the front row, who looked like they would be the dangerous right from the word go. Luca Marini, unfortunately, as well, Pons' teammate crashing out, and you can see there Tesha, he does look a bit sore, didn't he? This was before the start of the race after his crash yesterday. But let's have a look at the race start. Pons got a great drag off the line and led down into turn 1, and it looked like, well, that no one was going to catch him right from the word go. He controlled the race beautifully. Look at Odendahl coming from second row of the grid there into second place. And we did have an incident, obviously, with a rider going down at the first corner. That was Gonzalez. Nice looking incident, but he did walk away, and we didn't have a red flag come out like we did in the Moto3 Junior World Championship race. Right, Pons then, as you can see, leading early doors from Odendahl and Vierge, and that was the order that actually finished in. So right from the word go, we were seeing what was going to be laid out in front of you. Pons just controlling the race beautifully. As you heard him say in the interview with Harry, he felt on the fresh tyres that he had a lot more than he did on the old tyres, and he felt he could push really, really hard, and then just controlled it from there. And Vierge, already you can see at the start, damage to his fairing, which didn't affect him too badly during the race, but Odendahl and Vierge, great race-long battle, while Pons just left everyone really for dead at the front. Class ride from the Spaniard, who's, I believe, 20 now, isn't he? Was only 19? Yeah, it's 19 at the last one. I think he said his birthday is 20 now. And there we can see Vieje making the move on Odendahl, but Odendal's power on the straight and Vieje running a little bit wide there meant that Odendahl would claw it back as they came through the final corners to take second place. And look how much it meant to the South African, and a brilliant fourth place from Fellini ahead of Granado and Nagashimi. And that was your Moto2 European Championship Race 1. We are gearing up, as I said, for the Superbike race. We'll be getting ready for that in about 5 minutes' time. But first, let's do the Moto2 podium.
Yeah, and as we heard there from Pons, one or two problems with his bike, not being able to brake fully in a straight line, so hopefully he and the team will be able to resolve that for race 2.
Yeah, interesting that he could dominate so much, as you say, when he was having those issues, and he was obviously saying the tyres felt great to start with, but having to kind of like manage them towards the end. I think we could have a very exciting race 2, and I think the conditions will mean that settings on the bikes will have to be completely different, as you're saying.
Yeah, and also as Pons was saying, you know, there's a big drop-off with the tyres, so that'll be something to keep in mind.
So there's team manager getting presented with the trophy. Seems rather happy. You say great trophies here, aren't they, of the Aragon circuit? And then it will be, as we say, the Superstock rider who was Santana, was it not?
Yep,
on the R6, yeah, he took the Superstock victory, so he gets trophy. Brilliant. As you say, lapping about 10 seconds a lap slower than the Moto2 guys, but still managing to put it in.
Yeah, and as you were saying also as well, you know, Odendahl's overjoyed with that podium, both he and the team. Maybe even seemed a little surprised with that. You know, Odendahl's press release yesterday evening, not too confident, but it seems like his 100% hat was just the ticket he needed to improve it that little bit.
You spied it on the grid. You said the 100% bat. And I actually gave you some credit while you weren't here in saying I was impressed with your shout on Fellini, because I thought he had a great race, especially at the end when Granado came back. You know, it's so easy when you're that frame of mind to actually be able to get back on the gas, because you're starting to relax, thinking, well, I'll settle for fourth, and he had to really fight. So now comes the, after we've had the presentation, we will get the big giant check being presented in the background. Well, I love giant checks. You don't get enough of those nowadays. It's superb.
Should be out on track if you want one of them.
Yeah.
But there's Pons getting his trophy. Yet another victory this season. So really, you know, a dominant season so far from Pons.
So that says petrol for free, by the way, if you're wondering what that is. So that means that they don't have to pay for their petrol, which is I think a nice touch.
Yeah,
honestly.
certainly. You know, every little bit helps. And unfortunately, he won't get that when he moves up into the World Championship, but still good. And there you go. There's the podium. Pons, Odendahl, Vieje, Santana, Spanish anthem.
So there we go, second time we've heard the Spanish national anthem stand. I don't know if it'll be the last, Harry, with another 3 races to come.
I think we could see it again in all the classes, but hopefully we get a bit of a mix. You know, Odendahl, strong performance there. This will give all of these riders a chance to tweak their bikes. That's a good thing about a 2-race format, is you can make that tiny little step. You don't have to wait till next weekend. You just have to, you know, go have a bit of food, 2 hours, and you're back out there.
Yeah, and it's not always the case that you have 2 Moto3 races, 2 Moto2 races, and 1 Superbike. In the next round, for instance, in Albacete, it will be 1 Moto3 race, 1 Moto2, 2 Superbike races. In Navarra, it'll be 1 Moto3, 2 Moto2, 2 Superbikes. So it balances out over the course of the season. So you might be thinking, how come it's round 4 of the FIM CEV Repsol when they're only having their 3rd race? Well, it's because, as I say, that each round we had the Moto3 Junior World Championship round at Le Mans as well. So let's get official confirmation then of what that means for the championship results. Well, Edgar Pons is leader at the top of the championship, extended to 34 points over Javi Vieje. Odendahl moves up, I should say, from 7th into 3rd. Great jump for him there with
really
the 2nd place. He's 46 points behind. Granado 4th, Tesha 5th, Marini unfortunately crashing out of the race. No points. He has dropped down to 6th. Nagashima 7th, and as you say, Medina in 8th.
Yeah, then Ruhu, teammates to Fellini, really good result from him. Maximilian Scheib ahead of Thibaut Burton, as we said, oldest rider in the class. Then Dimas Eki, the Indonesian rider, not taking part in the race this weekend, ahead of Diego Perez, Miquel Pons, Xavier Cardalus, Marco Nawalski.
Marco Negvasil, yes, and Adrian Petit there. Sorry, there's so many, they're confusing. So that is your World Championship results, and that's your standings at the end of race 1. We will be going back to Moto2, as I say, race 2 later on this afternoon. Will be at 3 o'clock, our last action of today. But up next, it is our European Superbike European Championship race, I should say, which we've got some news for you in just a second. We'll be telling you about that. One of the big, in fact, the reigning champion will not be racing here today, which is a shame, isn't it? Kenny Noyes unfortunately had a crash in warm-up this morning and won't be able to take part in the race.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that when they start forming up on the grid, but it's getting hot outside. When I went down there for the interviews in Parc Fermé, it was noticeably hotter than it was for the Moto3. As we said, that upwards climb in temperatures is carrying on, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think that it'll keep getting hotter until after the final Moto3 race. The final Moto2 race of the day. So I think it's going to be really tough for the Moto3 and Moto2 guys to get back out there.
Yeah, and as we know, we were talking to, instance, Dennis Noyes, Kenny's father, just chatting about about tyres, and they have the 3 tyre choices, don't they, in Superbike A, B and C, A being the soft, B being medium, C being the hard compound. A lot of riders were not quite sure what to go for. I know the A won't last around here, the B they weren't sure, and the C compound, well, it was a bit of an unknown quantity.
Yeah, Carmelo Morales, he described the B compound, the medium compound, as dangerous yesterday, so he'll almost certainly be probably opting for the harder compound in this race.
So we have the Superbike European Championship coming up. That is the end of Moto2 European Championship Race 1. Don't forget, Race 2 will be at 3 o'clock later on, so set your stopwatches. But next up is Superbikes, and then we'll be going to Moto3.